a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hello and welcome once again. This is the second annual NightStalker Christmas special. And this is actually the fourth time I've done this. So now I don't know what, I've already said all the stuff I'm going to say, so I don't know what to say now. But anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Blessed Yule, and whatever else you happen to be celebrating. Those are all the ones that are proper introductions that I know. And I think all the other holidays like Hanukkah and all that, I think they've already passed, so we're too late for that. But happy Hanukkah for any of the Jewish listeners out there. Sorry I forgot to throw that in when Hanukkah was actually going on. And today's special episode is special because there was absolutely no planning or anything involved in this. And we do have a special guest. Psychic Medium CHERI is with us. Like I said, believe it or not with the other, or like I said, you're not going to hear what I said when I said it the other time because there was another goof up on it. But believe it or not, we actually do plan out other episodes, at least to some extent. I won't say there's a lot of planning that goes into it. Most of the time it's like, hey, what are we going to talk about? How about this? Sounds good. And that's like as I'm hitting record. So that is the extent of the planning, but there's even less planning involved in this one. Of course, like I said, this is going to be a special Christmas episode, so I want to give everybody a little heads up. It's not going to be really traditional paranormal or ghost stories or any of the stuff we normally do. It's going to be kind of a lighter mood, jokey one. If you've listened to the beginning, you've probably heard the South Park Cows School Choir. That's right, the South Park Cows from the South Park cartoon. They were the ones singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" at the beginning, and we're going to have a special ad from Dare to Be Stupid Show, a YouTube channel offering Ghost Rider, the Spirit of Christmas. That's right, Ghost Rider singing Christmas carols. All of that's going to be coming in later, but until that point, I want to take a second and welcome, of course, Psychic Medium CHERI, and with me as always in this journey of insanity, my co-defendant, Michael is with me.
Hi, Joel.
I think Michael is with me.
I'm here.
All right, he is here. I'm always wondering because for those of you who can't see it, Michael is actually working on experiments right now, and I'm kind of worried because it's like Dexter's Lab. You know that cartoon. Well, the theme song goes, there's doom and gloom as things go boom, and I'm always afraid I'm going to hear the things going boom on Michael's end.
Things haven't gone boom yet.
No, that's because, I'm not there. If I was there, probably things would have already started going boom.
Well, I'm building the stuff for you, so you never know.
Well, this is I know my way around electronics. I'll be the first to admit that. And I actually did attempt to build one of the original spirit boxes, the Shack Hacks. Literally, all you got to do is take one wire and a pin out. And I don't know what I did, but when I put the battery back in it and I turned it on, it burst into flames.
You have a knack for that. No?
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, because actually a guy that was with C-Spot, the group I was at in the beginning, his name's Jason. And he actually was like, "Oh, there's a cheap here. You go out to Radio Shack since you got to do the one building it. Here, go out and buy it." And he's like, "So how's it going?" And I was like, well, I don't know exactly how to tell you this, but it melted. And he looks at me and kind of snickers, and I'm like, I'm not kidding. I don't know what I crossed in it, but when I put the batteries in it, it burst into flames.
Wow.
Is everyone okay? Yeah, everyone's fine. Well, as long as nobody got hurt. But yeah, so after that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not so good with this anymore. Because I used to build computers and all sorts of stuff when I was younger.
That's crazy.
So, like I said, not a lot of planning in this, and I don't exactly know what we're going to talk about. I know last year we actually talked about something that I did find interesting, which was the, and sort of goes into, I guess I can do a plug here, because PMBC is going to be live this Christmas Eve night, live doing a Santa watch. That's right, kids. If you're listening to this, first off, I question your parenting skills. Your parents' parenting skills, rather. If you're letting you listen to this. But if they do, you can go to Facebook.com/ or not slash, or yeah, slash Paranormal BC. You will find the Pacific. Crap, I can't talk. Paranormal North Coast, British Columbia page, and on that there is going to be a live feed. I don't know how long because I'm not going to be part of it. My ass is going to be home where it's warm and where my wife and everything is, and not running around looking into the skies hoping for Santa Claus. He shows up, he shows up. Frankly, not a big deal to me. But the other guys are going to be doing that, so they are going to be live doing that. And of course, this week actually has nothing to do with Christmas. But this Friday, we are actually also going to be live. I believe at 8 p.m. is at least the plan. And we are going to be doing a live Ouija board and spirit box session.
Wow.
We're going to have the spirit box and the Ouija, and this is not going to be the app. This is not going to be the XP7 app. This is going to actually be the SB11 spirit box. Pete's even going to be joining us. And we're going to be doing this live session. We're going to ask the questions. Both are going to be sitting there. It's going to happen at the same time. It will be absolutely fascinating if we get a response from the Ouija board that matches a response from the spirit box.
That would be interesting.
Because the last time we did a Ouija board session, we got nothing. We got gibberish. I mean, it was like, well, no, I guess the time before that was even worse because we got even less than gibberish. We pretty much, I think it was a good 45 minutes. We got literally nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And I know you're not a big fan of those.
I'm not. No, I don't play with them. No,
But,
I'm not.
You know, it's just something that we do we do occasionally. And it is something that, like I said, is interesting. I'll tell you a very interesting thing that happened to us on the last live screen. I is not good talk person today.
It sounds like you're tongue-tied today.
I am really bad today. But I was like I was telling you before we started this recording, I have been working on a computer all morning. And frankly, when I have to use my brain that much, Sorry. When I have to use my brain that much, it sort of slowly stops working. It's like, when you're using your computer and you've got like 20 tabs open, and then you just keep opening another tab and it gets slower and slower and slower. That is my brain in a nutshell. The more tabs I open up, the slower I get.
Well, sometimes, Joel, with the computer, sometimes the internet or something doesn't work, and it's just very frustrating. The computer thing can be so convenient, and we wouldn't be able to be connecting like this. But there are times when you're down, and trying to connect and everything else. It's just it's almost impossible, and it's very frustrating. So I can understand what you're going through.
Oh yeah, like there was about 2 weeks ago last year. It was completely unusable. It was, but that's more with my weather usually. My weather is always, because frankly, we're having a really green Christmas here this year, so far.
Oh.
I mean, we've had a decent amount of snow, probably close to 6 or 7 inches, but it's melted off by now, almost entirely. Of course, it probably is going to meet sometime in January. I'm going to get 6 to 7 feet, because up here they do measure snow in feet, not inches.
Well, we've been very fortunate, with our show Paranormal Horizons. We've been very, very blessed. I mean, only maybe with Oregon out here, we have, we do have snow, but not feet. I mean, it's very unusual if we have 3 or 4 feet, but usually it's maybe a foot or 2 feet. We're in the foothills, and we literally live in the forest, so. Our service is DSL. We don't get high-speed internet like most other 80 or 90% of the world. So, but yeah, it's very different when you live, very remote and you're very limited in access. But you do the best you can. That's all you can do. Mm-hmm.
I was the same way up here. I mean, actually, I think it was my birthday last year. We got the internet we have now, which is a drastic improvement over the internet we had. Which was basically, I've seen a bird snatch an email out of the air. If that tells you how slow it moved.
Oh, so did you have like dial tone?
It wasn't quite dial up, but it was just a step above that. And there were still houses here that had dial up.
That's what we have. We have DSL, so that's in between dial up and high speed.
Yeah, that was it. And that was the only thing, literally the only service you could get where we lived. Literally the only one. And so finally another company came in, they ran new lines, and we could get the high speed stuff. And it's been working pretty good so far. I mean, it's had
That's
a lot less
awesome. Wow.
downtimes, except of course when, the weather. And 'tis the season for dumbasses to drive. And you never know when somebody's going to hit a utility pole.
Well, the thing is, like, we have a lot of Californians moving up here. I don't know, because of the fires or, the cost of living down there, but you have a lot of people from California and they don't know how to drive in snow. So when you have them coming up here and you got the native Oregonians, it's very frustrating because they drive really bad.
Oh yeah.
So, uh-huh.
See, we get that from the people like from Vancouver and stuff that come up here. They don't really know. I mean, it's actually quite hilarious. If you look up Vancouver during winter driving, you see like people sliding down hills and all of this. They don't have the proper. We have like winter tires with studs on them. We got little metal teeth on our tires, and that's kind of necessary here.
Yeah, we have them too. November 1st is the time you can legally put your studs on. So, yeah, especially when you go over the pass. I mean, just get to
Yeah,
the coast, we have to have studs. Or
yeah. That's we were doing that. It's got to be weighted down. It's got to have studs on it. It's got to have everything. Because if you don't, the thing is not going to run. I mean, you're going to get stuck. You're going to slide off the road, especially with basically we get two options in winter. If we don't have a lot of snow, we got a lot of ice. If we do have a lot of snow, we don't have a lot of ice. So we got a choice of ice or snow. This year
Wow.
is kind of going more icy, and like when it first starts coming down, it's unpassed. You have to you can't go anywhere. And then of course the one they call it Snowmageddon. This was in 2000, the winter 2014 2015, where we ended up like between 12 and 15 feet of snow in
Oh,
3 days.
that's a lot. I can't imagine how oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was like well, we to put it blunt, we were stuck. Literally, had to be evacuated from where I live in Kitimat Village. We had to be evacuated because the BC Hydro, the electric company, they
Hmm.
were running lines, and they ran lines from town to here. I think a total of 5 times in those 3 days, because they would do the lines, get all the way to the village, hook up the last one, throw the switch, and it's dead. Go back up the line, find more trees, knocked more lines down. Run the lines again, get all the way back to the village, throw the switch, dead. More trees were down. Run the lines again. They just kept redoing it and kept redoing it and kept redoing it. We were without power for like 4 days, 5 days.
Jeez.
And the last day, the people were calling for an ice storm. And the electric company said, if an ice storm hits here, you're going to shut us down. They're going to be without power probably for at least a week. Get them the hell out of there. It was like that was it. And that's what we did. We evacuated. But luckily the ice storm didn't hit, and we were able to actually come home that night. We left at like 2:30 in the morning, something like that, 3:30 in the morning, and we were back home by about 8 o'clock that night, 9 o'clock that night.
Jeez.
So the ice storm passed us. It fell as more snow, but it passed us, and we were able to come home. They were able to finally get the power ran. They actually had people cutting trees while they were while they were running the power lines, just to try to keep the trees off the lines. It was a. I've got pictures of it. I'll have to put them up online at some point, or I'll send them to you. It looks like a war zone.
Jeez.
They
Wow.
they literally had a plow come down the middle of the highway that leads from the village to town, do a path, one car length, just wide enough for a car to go through. Did the path, and that was where we let out. That's how we got out of the village. And we're passing like there was I think it was a fire truck with a big tree. We're probably talking a 12, 13-foot trunk fell in the middle of the fire truck while they were trying to help a person in another car that had a tree fall on them. We lost, I think, something like 100 trees almost, or some. It was a crazy number.
I bet the insurance companies were busy.
Yeah, I bet you the insurance companies are having a damn fit.
Oh yeah, those probably wasn't enough tree people to go and take care of all the trees that were falling.
Oh yeah, it was bad. So
Oh my goodness.
we have covered winter stories because that was a winter nightmare there. It's like I said, we were talking about this with the Santa Watch that the PNBC guys are doing. As far as I know right now, it's John and Dan only, possibly John, Dan, and Roy. But like I said, you, of course, you could go on it if you'd like. You can get them into the chat, and so can Michael. You're both part of PNBC. But me and Pete are going to be warm in our houses. Santa, like I said, if he shows up, he don't show up, that ain't no, as my mom used to put, that ain't no skin off my ass. So, I'm going to be warm in bed. That's my Christmas plans right there. Warm in bed. But one of the things we talked about last year, and apparently this is still held true because I did do a little bit of research about this, believe it or not. But there are actually still in North America somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 Santa sightings reported every year. And I know a lot of people are like, well, of course, I see him at the mall, I see him shaking the bell out in front of the grocery store or Walmart. That's not exactly the Santa we're talking about here. We're talking about like people calling for breaking and entering, the police showing up, and they see reindeer on people's roofs.
This should be in there. Maybe what is this? Paranormal?
Yeah, though that's actually where where I found it was on Coast to Coast AM.
Oh wow!
The old Art Bell's old show.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
These people, because I'll tell you, one of the creepiest stories, and I know if you guys were listening last year, you've already heard this, so you can, I don't know, go on Facebook for a few minutes. But one of the creepiest stories, and this is hands down, this guy was asleep and he hears someone banging around in his living room. So he goes downstairs and he comes face to face with Santa Claus. This is the Coca-Cola Santa Claus, fat guy, red coat, beard, all of that. And this was the reason I say this is the creepiest one is because, of course, needless to say, he's going, what the hell? And that's when his attention gets drawn. The guy looks at him and he goes, how did I get here? And disappears. I've always put it to the belief making existence thing. We've got like a Slender Man. We've got Slender Man. There are people that swear up and down that they have seen Slender Man, that they've even talked to Slender Man. There was two kids tried to murder another child to sacrifice her to Slender Man. This kind of stuff. Well, there is a verifiable creation of Slender Man. I can show you the stuff on Reddit where the man who created Slender Man created Slender Man. It is a completely fictitious character. This character never has and does not exist. Yet you've got thousands of sightings of Slender Man. Is it the ability of belief, the power of the human mind that we cannot grasp, that we can't use, that is not readily available to us? It's something we don't know how to use. Can the human mind actually subconsciously make something real?
Absolutely. Yes, very much so. What is a Slender Man, by the way? Have you heard of it? I mean, I've heard of him, but I've never had anybody talk about him on my radio show.
Okay, Slender Man is, it's, you remember the old urban legends. That's basically what he's falling into now, but he's become, they have a new name for him. They call him creepypastas.
Oh, really? Huh.
Sorry, I'm getting choked up here, folks. But basically what a creepypasta is it's a short term for, or another term for copy paste. And they're usually involving like ghost stories or, back at the beginning of the internet, I'm sure you probably got one of those emails about the girl that died, and if you don't forward this to 25 people, she'll come and kill you at midnight, that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's the same thing. This is where it evolved from.
Okay.
Well, Slender Man was originally done by a guy. I can't remember the guy's name now. I didn't bring any of that up. But basically what it was they were doing a contest on Reddit for people to use Photoshop. And it was create a creepy picture and a backstory. So he made this image of this faceless man in a tuxedo or suit and tie, and he like faded it deep into the back in front of an old picture of a a schoolyard with kids playing. And he basically, what the story was, that this thing lures children into the woods and takes them into another dimension where he gains power from them and age that keeps him immortal.
Oh.
Well, needless to say, the picture was really creepy looking. And that's kind of a scary story. I mean, you think about it, it's a natural instinct of every human being to protect children. You know, it's our natural instinct. If you are ever in a crowded mall or you are anywhere and a child yells help, every head in that mall will turn. You know, you could put this kid in the middle of 1,000 people. It yells help. Everyone that hears it is going to be looking right for it.
Definitely.
It's the natural instinct of humans. We preserve the young. And here's the story of this demonic creature that kidnaps them and lures them into the woods and feeds off their life force to keep itself alive. That's a creepy story.
That's
so
creepy.
You know, people started asking him, "Hey, can you do more? Can you tell us more stories of Slender Man?" The name came up because he said this is one of the few known pictures of the Slender Man.
Huh.
It simply used as a description, and it became the name Slender Man because he is described as a slender man in a suit. Well, then you started getting people copying it and spreading it around, and now they've got it to where he asks for sacrifices, and you know, there's other stuff. The legend has, of course, grown, but that was the beginning of it right there. He basically is a demonic or otherworldly entity that lures children, and that's another reason he used children and younger children rather than like teenagers, and that was because it made more sense for him to take young children because there's more life left in them. You know, if you got your choice between a half a bottle of Coke and a full bottle of Coke, and you're thirsty, which one are you going to grab? You're going to go.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So if you got your choice between a 7-year-old and a 17-year-old, you automatically know there's most likely that 7-year-old's going to live longer than that 17-year-old. It's got more lifespan left, so you take the 7-year-old. And that's what he did. Slender Man would go after the younger children. But of course, by the time, you know, he got popular, and then he like wrote a video game about it, and he did all sorts of stuff because, I mean, it's made the man rich, and I applaud him for it. He came up with a great idea. He worked his ass off for it, and he got it good. But basically, by the time he got everything rolling, people had been copying, and comes in the name creepypasta, copying and pasting his story and picture, but not the origin, not where it was created or why it was created. So by the third or fourth time being shared, this was created for a contest on Reddit, becomes, this has been told by somebody on Reddit to somebody I know told me this story, to this happened to a friend of mine. You know, just like the old urban legends. You know, I know you've probably heard 1,000 of them. I know I have, about the Phantom Hitchhikers. The guy that picks up the girl and ends up leaving his, or giving her his jacket or whatever. Then he goes to get his jacket back, and they tell her he's dead. She's dead, and he finds it on the gravestone or stuff like that. You know, it always started off with someone just telling a story, but then by the time it was done was, hey, a friend of mine's friend's cousin's brother had this happen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've heard about the Phantom Hitchhiker.
You
Yeah,
know.
a lot of these things come about, you know, it's very interesting. And there's people that do have, we call encounters of these.
Oh yeah, well there's Phantom Hitchhikers all around up here.
Oh my gosh.
We've actually investigated one, and one of the members of our team actually did see her. Roy was driving home one night, or he lives in town, but he was driving to the village one night, and he did run into her.
Oh, really?
Yes, he
Huh.
did actually. He has a confirmed sighting now.
So, is this hitchhiker supposedly is crossed over and she came about, right?
We
That's what I'm
don't.
thinking.
We're not real sure because the fact of it is there was a woman there that used to live in that area called Maggie. Her name was, or Margaret rather. Her name was Margaret. But they had Maggie's Point, and then I think her name was Margaret Cordella.
Huh.
And there's actually Maggie's Point and Cordella Creek. So she lived in that area, and they say that she was she was a loner. She was kind of a hermit, but she was very, she was friendly and everything to the people that would pass. So a lot of people think it's just her walking her property again, not so much looking for a ride, which is why she disappears if people turn around for her.
She's just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, that's what, at least that's what the going thought is it's Maggie, and the reason she disappears when someone turns around to get her is because she has no intention of going anywhere.
Wow. Huh. Has anybody been able to get any pictures of her?
No, no, we tried, and probably this spring, this summer, we're going to come back out and do it again. But no, we tried. We went through there, and we never got any pictures. We got a lot of voices, and some crazy EVP from there, but we never got any pictures. Yeah, we investigated there 3 or 4 times now,
Cool.
but that was like, yeah, there was no pictures of it. At least none that we got. There are still sightings of her quite frequently. For phantom hitchhikers, normally they're not seen as often as this, but she's seen. She has times, I guess you'd say times that she is seen, because when she is seen, you'll get 4 or 5 people that see her. It's like never. It's not like one person 6 months and then another person 6 months later, something like that. It's
Huh.
like when one person sees her, then all of a sudden I'll get. And this isn't like coming from Facebook where someone might be jumping on like, oh, would it be cool? Yeah, 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 I saw her too. This is like people will be coming up to me like when I'm out or something. Oh, hey, did you hear so and so saw the hitchhiker? Oh, really? No, I didn't hear that. Yeah, they saw her a couple of weeks ago. And then a few days later or something, somebody else will come up. Oh, hey, did you hear so and so saw the hitchhiker a few days ago? And
See,
it's a
and you have
completely another person.
when you have so many sightings like that, you can't help but not think that it's
Yeah.
there's some truth to it. Absolutely.
I'll be totally honest with you. It was working out. We were working one time off the theory of possibly a death triggering it. When there was a
Wow.
death in the village, that she would show up. But we've had a really bad year. Lot of deaths. Lot of deaths. So, and there had not been as many reported sightings here in the past little bit. So that
Huh.
theory's shot. That theory's shot. But like I said, we had a really bad year for deaths. I think in 1 week we lost 6 people.
Wow.
And when you're looking at like the town of Kitimat is less than 9,000 people, and the village of Kitimat is less than 1,000. So when you're looking at like 6 and 7 people dying in 2 weeks, you're talking about almost 10%, or close to 10% of the population died in a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a shocking number when you're looking, or not 10%. Sorry, I can't do percentages right now. Yeah, never mind. I can't do percentages right now because about 10% of the population would be 80 people. That's a lot more, but we're still looking at like like I said, it's still a good number for this small of a community. Like I said, I think there's 850 people here.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it's a small community, so it hits people hard. I think the last one was maybe, knock on wood here, the last one for the year was maybe a week ago, 2 weeks
Really?
at the max. Yeah, every year they do a community Christmas dinner. It's put on by the band and council and everything, and they do it every year. And they had to postpone it this year because there was a memorial funeral happening on that day. So they postponed it. And that was originally supposed to be on the 9th. So that was 11 days ago.
Well, that's too bad. That's why. Wow, I think that's something going on. Have you ever figured out why there's so many deaths in a short period of time?
A lot of people seem to think it's Alcan related, but I don't know.
Hmm.
We're
What?
right
What
across the.
is? Go ahead. What is an Alcon? What is that?
Alcan
Alcon?
is Aluminum Canada.
Oh, okay.
We have one of the world's largest aluminum smelters about 200 feet away from the village, across the Douglas Channel.
Okay.
And all sorts of stuff they come into the water, and of course the air and everything else.
Okay.
So they think it's a lot of the illnesses and stuff that's in the village and around Kitimat town in general is caused by Alcan.
Really?
Wow. And I
Wow.
wouldn't be surprised.
Well, it's just like being at the Hanford. You've heard of the Hanford nuclear plant, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised when there are people like that around there. You wonder why there's so many higher cases of cancer and abortion, not abortions, but miscarriages and babies that are being deformed, that are in the womb and everything. I believe in it. I
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Well, that's the same kind of stuff that we're getting here. And sadly to say, suicide rate is astronomical.
Oh, wow. Huh. Depression?
Yeah. Then I don't mean to try to make a joke or anything here, but honestly, I think a lot more of that has to do with the fact that it rains like 300 days a year here. There's some form of precipitation. We're always either ankle deep in snow or it's raining. So literally, there's nothing outside. You constantly. Actually, when I first moved here, a friend of mine was telling me, he was like, "You seem like you're a pretty up and kind of easygoing, level-headed person." I was like, "Okay, yeah." He's like, "You got to watch yourself." I'm like, "What do I have to watch?" It's like, it's called the winter blues. He's like, "You're going to notice a drastic downswing in your attitude, in your temperament, in the way you think about things. If you start feeling this, you've got to go to a tanning bed."
Wow.
I was like, "What's a tanning bed do?" He's like, "It'll hit you with the rays that you need to balance yourself back out again." He's like, "You think I'm crazy, but I'm not." He's from California. He was born in California. And he's like, "I have to do that occasionally." He's like, "Most of the time I'm good. But then there's some years, especially when it's really rainy, really snowy." He's like, literally, being inside and not being able to go out, it literally causes depression. And you have to go to a damn tanning bed. You got to get sunlight. And he's like, "It'll help you." I mean, I haven't really had it because I'm the one that shovels, so I'm during the winter. That's what I always make jokes about this. Every winter, every after Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything, everyone's always talking about, "Oh my God, look how much weight I put on." After winter, I've always lost like 15 or 20 pounds.
Oh,
And we still eat like that. We still have the holiday stuff, but I always end up with less weight because it's the Kitimat winter workout routine. You go and you shovel the driveway. And when the snow really decides to fall, I will shovel that driveway 7 and 8 times a day. I ain't got no snowblower. I'm out there with a shovel, scoop, throw, scoop, throw, scoop, throw.
and it's probably coming faster than you can scoop it, right?
Quite a few times it has. But when it gets to
Yeah.
that point, that's when I say I'm done and I quit. I wait for the snow to stop and then I dig us out. We did that one, the year actually 2015. We had to wait for the snow to quit, and when we came back out to dig us out, the snow was covering our van. The snow literally came above our van.
Wow.
After we got dug out here and we rested up and everything the night, because like we were down to like apples and peanut butter because we had no way of cooking. We hadn't really slept because it was freezing cold in here. That kind of stuff. When we had the power outage, after we came back, we actually had a good like hot home cooked meal and actually were able to lay and sleep and not freeze our asses off I went back into town. We went back into town, and I helped dig out my father-in-law because we couldn't find his car. It was in his
Oh,
driveway, but we couldn't find it. It was underneath, 6, 7 feet of snow. So I went back into town and we helped dig him out. And he had dug a path out because when he was a kid, it was actually worse. He
oh,
remember he remembered one year they had a 2-story house, and he remembered one year that the way they got out of their house was from the second floor. They climbed out a second floor window.
jeez.
The snow was level with the second floor window. I looked at him then and I was like, there is nothing on the outside world valuable enough to me to make me go out a second story window. I was like, the only thing that's going to move me out of that house is maybe the house catching on fire. And even that, I might be like, we'll just throw some snow on it. It'll be all right. I was like, no. He's like, well, yeah. He's like, well, it takes a long time to melt. And I'm like, oh yeah. I would guess you need food sooner or later. Yep. So that's what they'd had to do. They have to go get food. Yeah, he's like, he remembered it. It was like, honest to God, I think Kitimat I think it's 2 inches off of the world record for snowfall.
Wow.
And I think it was 20 some feet.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I love our winters here. I don't have that problem. I don't know about you, Joel, but do you get that winter problem where you get all the blues? I know a couple people that are so depressed. They get so down and everything. And for me, it's not a problem at all. I have no problem. Right at all.
That's what they do talk about that up here. Because like I
Mm-hmm.
said, when the winter really starts, we go back and forth between like snow, ice, rain, snow, ice, rain, snow, ice, rain, and that's it. You don't get out. You don't do anything. You're just sitting in your house, and it does cause people to get massively, massively depressed.
Jeez.
So I was saying, my friend from California, he was telling me if you're, if you start seeing this, if you start feeling this coming, you got to go to a tanning bed. It's like
Gosh.
you've got to get sunlight in you. He's like, because it's your body's natural chemical balance going away, because your body needs certain things from sunlight. It
Exactly.
needs the certain amount of the radiation. It needs, what is it, vitamin B?
Yeah, vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D, it needs all of that stuff. And if you don't get enough sunlight, your body goes into like this funk, this depression. And yeah, they get that here bad. Because I'm not joking when I say it. We actually do have, it's actually listed, if you look up the Kitimat, British Columbia Wikipedia page, I think on average we get like 280 some days a year of precipitation.
Wow.
So that's like 70 to 80 days a year of sun. Put that
How
in,
much?
put that into perspective. Most people deal with like 70 to 80 days a year of rain. We get it on the opposite side of the spectrum. We get nothing but rain and snow. We get like, and some years it's much worse. This has been a cold, wet year. I would say this year we've probably had over 300 days of rain and snow.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, because our actual summer lasted about 2 weeks, and then that was it. It was like we didn't have a spring, and we didn't have a fall. We had like 2 weeks of summer, and it went straight back into winter.
Well, are you going to be glad it's going to be summer then up there?
If it ever gets here, I tell you, I love the springs and the summers here because normally the summers here are really mild. We're talking like highs in the 70s, and the hot days are in the 80s. And it doesn't have a lot of humidity up here, so you can just, you get out and do whatever you want. Have cookouts, set in your yard. It's the weather's great. I love it. But like I said, this year none of that happened.
Gosh, I really enjoy being outside. Being that you and me, Joel, we both have a dog. It's a good way for her to get, go outside and take a breather.
Yeah, Yeah, poor, poor fellow, and it's getting to the point of his year. Although he gets happy about it, it's weird to talk about. My dog likes doing his business on high places,
Like high places, like what?
like hills. Yeah. We're not talking like at the top of a big hill or anything. We're talking if he can find a high spot in the ground, that's where he'll stop. He'll go to the absolute peak of it, and that's where he stops. He loves going on high places. So when the snow starts coming, where it falls off the roof, he tries to come up right up against the house. So he's at the highest point, and that's where he does his stuff. So that's his thing. He loves high ground.
Um,
And he does get some. He's a little fella. He's a part Pomeranian. That's the only thing I'm certain of. We know for a fact his mother was a Pomeranian, but somebody tried to say his father was a Chihuahua, and I looked at him and I was like, he's bigger than both of those breeds. If you put those two breeds standing on top of each other, granted he's like 99% hair. We actually have to have him in a toy. We have a harness for him, and it's a toy breed harness.
oh wow!
He only weighs about 12 pounds, 12, 14 pounds. That's it. That's all he weighs. He's a little, but he's tall. He comes up he comes about halfway, about maybe halfway up my calf.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet he's adorable.
But yeah, he's like, I'm looking at him like, when they're saying, oh, he's part Chihuahua, part Pomeranian. I'm like, how the hell did a dog his size come out of a Chihuahua? It's like,
Oh wow!
like I said, he's taller than a Chihuahua and a Pomeranian. If you put the Chihuahua on top of the Pomeranian, they're both like toy breeds. But his mother was a she's still pooching around, and he knows I'm talking about. I can see him pacing back and forth in front of the door to my room here. He knows I'm talking about him. But his mom, she is a Pomeranian. We know that.
Oh, you do, huh?
So that one we know, but the other one we don't. Another one from the wisdom of my mama. Daddy was a handsome stranger in the night. That's what she always used to say when we couldn't figure out, like, if the kittens or puppies or something like that. She would always be, oh, so that's mama, yeah, and we're not sure about that. Oh, so Daddy was a handsome stranger in the night. That was her big thing. Just kind of passing through town, so to speak.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, he's cute. He reminds me of he looks like a Pomeranian, more Pomeranian than a Chihuahua, but he's got both in him. I can see that.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is going to be a good time to take a little bit of a break. We went a little bit longer than the midpoint that we normally would go, where we throw in a commercial here, but we're going to throw in some commercials, of course, from actual sponsors that are paying for us to have this commercial in there, and another from, of course, our friends at Dare to Be Stupid Show on YouTube. So just 1 second, we'll be back on the other side to kind of wrap everything up and send it on its way. But until then, stick around till after the breaks.
This holiday season, instead of curling up by the fireplace, be warmed by hellfire as the spirit of vengeance brings you the spirit of Christmas. Sit back and listen as his nightmarish voice brings you such classics as Jingle Bells.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride your one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Deck the halls. More like deck the hells. Am I right, folks?
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Join me now, Carol. Fa la 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 la.
Oh, Christmas tree. Oh, why? Oh, God, why?
Oh, Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches. Oh, Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches.
Carol of the Bells. Wait, you're still here? This song was already kind of scary.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, no cares away, Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold, ding dong, ding dong.
Up on the housetop, lock your doors, bar your windows.
Oh, 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 where'd it go? Oh, 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 where'd it go? Up on the housetop, click, 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 down through the chimney with clips and net.
Joy to the world. Listen as I hide under this blanket.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King.
Silent night. That voice is not silent. That will haunt my dreams.
Silent night. Holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. But why did it have to be him?
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And a Happy New Year.
12 days of Christmas and 12 nights of nightmares.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 joyful doves and a partridge in a pear tree.
And for those celebrating Hanukkah, Ghost Rider hasn't forgotten you. Here's a spin on my little dreidel that you won't soon forget. Because it's horrifying.
Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, the dreidel I will play.
If you've made it to the end, congratulations! Order now and be spared his vengeance.
Order now!
And now we're back from the small break. Isn't it amazing through the power of the internet? It seems like no time at all has passed. Maybe, half a second? Maybe 2 seconds? I mean, that's what it feels like to us, at least. That much time had passed. It was an amazing feat. The power of the internet is truly amazing. So, I guess since this is the Christmas Spectacular, do we have any holiday-themed idea or anything you want to throw in? I mean, we can go believe me, at some point or another, Michael and I have talked about some of the craziest crap you could ever imagine. So, I mean, we can do aerodynamics of reindeer, time warp slips for interdimensional travel to be able to get to all the houses in the world in a single night. You know, we could go anything holiday related here.
I'm pretty open.
Yeah. Okay, we could even go into slave labor. I don't know what else you would call what he does there. You know, having the elves building all the toys in the workshop.
Well, it could be worse. It could be working for Microsoft.
Yeah, believe me, Microsoft is permanently on the naughty list. It is like lump of coal every year for them. But like I said, I did want to kind of throw in some kind of holiday theme-ish thing here.
Well, I'm thoroughly convinced that reindeer can fly.
Okay.
At least certain ones, anyway.
And jetpacks are not needed.
No.
What about, like I said, I've always thought, okay, now this is honest to God, and this is something that even when I was a child I used to ask. Aerodynamics are all wrong. You know, you got the antlers, they're going to create massive drag, yet these things are supposed to be able to move at subsonic speed.
Well, yeah, but what we're actually talking about here, and I don't know that I'm totally correct, but I do believe that only males shed antlers.
Yeah.
So therefore the reindeer must be female.
Yeah, but they're always drawn with antlers.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember that a lot of those draws are given dramatic license.
Yeah, that's true.
And it could also be a question of time slip.
Well, that's actually what I'd always thought is it kind of slides into,
Yeah.
like the time string, I guess you would say.
Well, I do know that if you go up in an airplane and you look at your watch and you're flying somewhere, there is a difference between the amount of time that passes in an airplane than would pass in a car.
Well, yeah, that's gravitational.
But if you were flying fast enough, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to traverse the Earth in one night.
Fast enough and high enough, it would work. I mean, at least theoretically. Well, folks, seems like we are running out of time. At least not completely running out of time, but the fact is we're running out of battery life. I'm at 18% and it's dropping quickly. So we're going to do a quick little wrap up here. Of course, I want to thank, is there anything either one of you two would like to add in or say or shout out to somebody or anything like that? And of course, I have to get in my cavalcade plugs after this. So, how about you, Michael? Okay. I was about to say, and actually tonight we're going to be recording the first episode of the slightly different name than originally I plugged on here, which is now Portals to Enlightenment, correct? All right, that is actually going to be recorded tonight, and it's going to be premiering on the 22nd. That's when the first episode will be available to download, and it is literally going to be anywhere you want to download. It's on Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Facebook, FaceTube, YouTube, uBook, whatever you want to look for it, it's there. Believe me, there's about 25 other sites that there's so many sites I can't name them all that it's on. It's going to be huge. Of course, you can go there as soon as you hear this because this is actually going to be heard on the 21st. You can go down to iTunes or Stitcher or Podcast Addict or any of the things that you download your podcast from and go on and give some, got a little bit fat. My brain got a little bit ahead of my tongue on that one. Go on and give Psychic Medium CHERI a subscribe and a follow or a like or whatever it is you have to do to get that. So you don't even have to worry about waiting for the time or the place. It's going to be automatically sent to your device as soon as it's available, which will be on, I believe we're doing something a little bit special because it's actually going to be coinciding with the new moon, correct? So it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be on Pacific time at 5:30 p.m. Saturday, December 22nd. That's when it's going to be on live for download. Now, of course, if you wanted to if you can't get enough of CHERI, which by all means, who can get enough of Psychic Medium CHERI? You can always find her each and every week on Paranormal Horizons, every week live at 7 p.m. on Sundays. And of course, it's 8 p.m. Why do I always want to say 7? It's just one of those things, and that is in Pacific time rather as well. But 7 o'clock is one of those things I just cannot get out of my head, and I don't know why, but I always do that. So 8 p.m. Sunday Pacific time. Of course, that is 11 p.m. East Coast time. Or you can find her online. Get a reading from Psychic Medium CHERI, or there's a whole bunch of other stuff on her site, which that's easy to find at tinyurl.com/CHERIWeb. Of course, for NightStalker or anything related to that, if you want to complain to us, tell us how horrible we're doing, be a fan, or if you would like to join the newly formed NightStalker Network, you can find us on Twitter at NightStalker Pod. I almost did the whole name on that one. Facebook, NightStalker Pod, or anywhere else. Basically, I've pretty much joined everywhere with NightStalker Pod. It's easy to remember. Of course, if you want to know about the continuing adventures of Paranormal North Coast, British Columbia, or want to join in on our live Facebook Ouija board spirit box session, I got a lot of plugs, and I know this is funny to watch, isn't it? I do this every week. No. That was the right one this time. We are actually Paranormal NightStalker. It's the team in Kentucky that's NightStalker Paranormal. Yeah. when you go through as many names as we do in a week, it's hard to keep them all straight. But if you want to join in on the Facebook live stream tomorrow night, you can find us on Facebook at Paranormal BC or online at www.paranormalbc.com. Main page, it's going to have everything going right on there. You just scroll on and watch it. Of course, for the NightStalker Network, that is on Spreaker, where you can find so far the 4 shows. There's going to be 4 shows launching on between now and January 1st rather, and one more show coming in January, which is actually going to be a comedy show, which is going to be something to behold. Believe me, some of the stuff that comes out of there is crazy, especially if you know exactly how the stuff comes about. It's even crazier. But that's going to be coming in January, and you can find that on paranormalbc as well.com, because I'm going to be setting up a page there. It's also on Spreaker, and of course, everything is available on Spotify, iTunes, Podcast Addict, Stitcher Podcast, Google Play, Google whatever else, and Facebook, YouTube, and like I said, so many different ones I literally can't name them all, or I'd probably die of asphyxiation. So, for all of the shameless plugs I've put in, and thank you for listening to all of those. Believe me, every week it gets more and more amazing the fact that I can get them out without running out of air or completely forgetting what I'm talking about. This has been Joel Walling, and I want to say a very special happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Like I said, whatever it is you celebrate, it brings you joy in life. I hope you do it and have a great time this year. We will see you. Actually, I think we will have one more episode this year before we go into the new year. And until then, signing off for another week. We'll talk again soon.